Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my caster build playthrough of Dark Souls Remastered. This is episode number 17, being recorded on Monday the 13th of August. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, whenever it is you find yourself watching this. So we have finally taken apart my PS4, cleaned out all the dust inside of it, and applied some new thermal paste. And after months and months and months of that being an enormous problem when it comes to the audio editing for all the stuff I do for YouTube, as well as for Twitch, we are finally able to record without having to worry about the PS4 sounding like a rocket ship that's about to blast off. So, yeah, pretty tremendous stuff. If you similarly find yourself in a position where you have a PS4 that is just annoyingly loud, I can't recommend enough. If you have a day to spare and, you know, the patience and the correct tools for the job, so you need a correct security screw, as well as thermal paste, then yeah, you should be able to do it, but it's a very delicate and stressful operation if you don't really know what you're doing. So I'm just looking at the crow here, and this is something that me and JSF talked about in Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore. That is, I believe it was episode 16, Firelink Shrine 1, where we talked all about this crow. And I do seem to recall someone in the comments mentioning, or on Twitter, mentioning that their cat was flipping out at the time-lapse video I had of this bird here. And my girlfriend and I are currently cat sitting a cat named Buffy, and I found this, just, you know, trying to give her things to do, activities. I found this YouTube channel that's all about, I think it's called Cat TV or something, and there's a video of just all of these birds. Someone just drops a bunch of bird seed, and then birds come and pick it up and fly into the frame, and then out of the frame, then in the frame, and out of the frame. And The cat we've been cat sitting, Buffy, she loves this thing. And she just sits in front of the TV and just watches all the birds going by. And I'm led to understand that she's watching now. So I do wonder whether Buffy is flipping out looking at the bird here. My cat flipped out when I showed him a hard-boiled egg. I couldn't tell you why. They do. Oh, and look at Frampt, just fast asleep. And you can see that his body goes down quite a distance. Key to the iron bars on the west side of the second floor of the North Undead Asylum. The Undead Asylum is a giant undead prison segmented by countless iron bars. But even if a hero found a key in Lordran to liberate this prison, would he have the means or the heart to ever come back? The answer is yes. Sweet D absolutely has the means and the heart to come back. You know, I don't know why, but when I first started playing the game, and maybe it's just familiarity with the controls or lack thereof, that roll or that jump there, I guess it's not a jump, it's just a roll, always gave me trouble when I first started playing the game, but not so much anymore. So we have a bird's nest here, and we have the option to curl up like a ball. So let's do that, shall we? A face only a mother could love. So we're back in the Northern Undead Asylum. You will notice that, or you might notice that, whereas previously I don't know why we're using a bow. It's been a couple weeks since I played, so you'll have to bear with me as I readjust. But generally speaking, when you go to that nest for the first time and you curl up in a ball, you have to wait for a little bit for the crow to come pick you up. But I have already been back, only to trade a couple items with Snuggly the Crow, which we're not going to be doing today because everyone knows where to find Snuggly and what Snuggly's all about. And again, we have talked about that in Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore. Me and JSF spent like half an hour trying to tease out why the heck Snuggly's there and how to make sense of Snuggly and the successor crows in the lore of the Dark Souls series in general. So if you're interested in that, I would recommend checking out Let's Talk Lore, I believe it's episode 16, on Firelink Shrine. And when we were here earlier in the series, we did spend some time trying to make sense of where we are when we go to the Northern Undead Asylum, because there's no telling how much time has passed, how much space we traverse when we go from Firelink Shrine to the Northern Undead Asylum and vice versa. So when you're coming back, you obviously don't want to step right into the middle of the boss room here, because you will be thrust into a boss fight immediately with the Stray Demon. It's a bonfire we did not light when we were initially here, but we might as well light it and sit at it now. And we likewise did not open the shortcut, so we should go do that now. So that's funny, because there was not a Black Knight there previously. And it is, of course, just a single spawn Black Knight. And I presume that these bloodstains are specific to the second trip to the Undead Asylum. That these aren't... I suppose it's possible that these are people who are dying in the tutorial area. Yeah, well, it's such a cramped corridor here that they don't really give you much of a chance, unless you're good at parrying, in which case it's not exceptionally difficult to take down that Black Knight. Fun lore fact, the giant crow is known to randomly drop Black Knights all across Lordran. That is... that is a good joke / point. How do the Black Knights get here? And again, we've discussed this in the past in terms of the Black Knights being apparitions. That the original idea was to have Black Knight sort of randomly spawning all over Lordran. You'd never know when you were going to run into one, there would just be a Black Knight there. I still think that that would be a really, really cool mechanic. And, you know, it surprises me that they never implemented anything of the sort in Dark Souls 3, in spite of there being a somewhat analogous framework for that they used in Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin with the Forlorn invaders. If they could just apply that same principle, but just don't make them invaders. Just make it so that they randomly show up in the area every now and then. Like, that would be really, really cool. But in this instance, there's just a bunch of Black Knights here. As well as our hollow friend, Oscar of Astora. Yeah, it says that they wander the land. But really, they don't so much wander in this game as they did, or as they were originally intended to. So that's Oscar of Astora, from whom we got our Estus Flask. Shield of a Nameless Knight, likely a high-ranked Knight of Astora. One of the enchanted blue shields, the Crest Shield, greatly reduces magic damage. Rip Oscar. Oh! Hi, friend! Where are you going? No, don't go away! Where are you going? Oh, it's... No! 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 Oh, it was a friendly Vagrant. It wasn't an evil Vagrant. I don't know that I've ever seen a friendly... Oh, no! I didn't know they disappeared. I don't know if I've ever seen a good Vagrant before. Let alone a good... Oh, crud. Oh, it was so cute. It was so cute. No! Well, that's a shame. Yeah, yeah, they shouldn't be called good Vagrants as much as shy Vagrants. That is an exceptionally shy Vagrant. Okay, well that was pretty cool. I'm happy with that, in spite of the fact that... No! It totally distracted me, and I forgot that the boulder trap was still in play. It's tremendous, especially for people like myself who never played Dark Souls 1 at its peak. It is the Souls game that, together with Dark Souls 2, I'm not sure which one would have come out on top if I somehow had the ability to accurately compare the number of hours I've spent in each game. I suspect it would be close, but I think Dark Souls 1 would probably come out on top. And in all that time, I only saw a small handful of Vagrants. So that is one of the fantastic things about Dark Souls Remastered, is that it actually allows us, those of us who didn't experience the game in full at first, to experience all those things as though we're doing so for the first time. And I think that's tremendous. Rusted Iron Ring. This iron ring was used to shackle the guilty. It is terribly rusted and faintly stained with blood. Those who find this strange ring to their liking will be pleased to find it easier to gain footing on poor ground, such as swamps. So I don't know mechanically how that is supposed to work. That you put on a rusted ring that was meant to shackle prisoners, and that somehow it permits you to move swiftly through swamps. Go figure. I'm not sure I can explain that. Yeah, it is pretty much just magic. Not really a whole lot more you can say about that, I don't think. Maybe it's a Shawshank reference. Andy Dufresne crawled through a mile of shit and came out clean. Perhaps the generations of prisoners willed to escape gave the ring the ability to run through water more swiftly. Rings are magical, imbued with the desire for freedom. Okay, yeah. Well, that's more of an explanation I expected we would come up with, so thank you, you three, for offering those suggestions. Okay, We're gonna let this guy hit us once. Come on. There you go. Okay, maybe a couple more. Are we out of range? Okay, that's good. Thank you, friend. I have a feeling this is not gonna work, but it's worth a try anyway. It did not work. So let's try it again. This guy's a little bit better than the one with the torch. Okay, that's good. Thank you, friend. I think that might be a little bit too much, but let's see. Yeah, it didn't work, but that's okay. Need beating to a pulp. Try beating to a pulp. I did it. So, I'm not really sure what to make of this. Like, what is the point of having another demon on underneath the demon that you just fought? Especially when there's the Asylum demon, the Stray demon, and Demon Fire Sage, who are all essentially exactly the same. But yeah, that's the Stray demon. And so, this is the only instance in which I think you can at least partially explain the presence of the Black Knights in the Northern Undead Asylum. And that is, they wouldn't be here unless they were guarding something or because, you know, they wouldn't be here to slay demons, because the demons here are working in service of the gods, are they not? So that's one issue. That if the Black Knights are really supposed to just be the sworn enemy of the demons, then, you know, what are they doing here? The second issue is, why are they guarding this prison here? And the only obvious answer, it seems to me, is that they don't want you to find the strange doll, because they don't want you to go to the painted world of Ariamis. Good question, Twiggy. I'm not sure I have an answer to that, but, you know, we have the I believe it was suggested either in one of the item descriptions or in the chat of the episodes we did for Anor Londo that the Batwing demons, maybe it was in the Batwing demons, the item description for the weapon they have, but I seem to have put it in my storage box, that the Batwing demons, some of them are quote-unquote civilized, and those are the ones that work for the gods. And some of the demons have at least some semblance of consciousness. And yeah, so that's really the only explanation I can proffer as to why a Black Knight would be here. Ouch. Oh, I'm always too late on that. The timing of the Dark Wraith running attack screws me up for that. I don't think these demons know they are working for the gods. I think the gods just sent the Asylum demon here to kill any escaped prisoners because it's a demon and attacks anything. Touche, Norfolk's given. No forks given. I'm not convinced the Black Knights are conscious either. They seem more like ghosts haunting the world, wandering about rather than having a motive. Since there's a bunch of hollows impaled on the iron bars there, suggests that's possible. This is what Theomany's referring to right here. Yeah, so on I think all of the Black Knight items, it says halberd or blank of the Black Knights who wander Lordran, used to face chaos demons. So it's not just demons in general, but specifically demons of chaos. But I'm not sure if there exists demons who aren't of the chaos. So I'm not sure if that's a completely unhelpful distinction or not. Okay, so I had originally planned to make our excursion to the Northern Undead Asylum an entire episode. But seeing as we're pretty much already done the episode, we might as well go to the Painted World and make that part of the episode as well. I guess I'd forgotten how little there is to actually do here. So yeah, let's head back to Firelink. Sorry guys. No Forks Given says, aren't the Black Knights hollows too, or are the illusions like the Silver Knights? Does that mean the Titanite Demon by Andre is an illusion too? I don't understand why some bodies disappear and some don't. Hunter M says, Black Knights had their bodies charred to ash as if their spirits are burned forever into the suits. Theomany notes that especially the ones at the kiln, since they respawn and just fall over. The Titanite Demon stays even in the dark Anor Londo. And why can illusions hurt you? Has Gwendolyn mastered reverse shadow clone jutsu? We should talk about the nature of Titanite to the point where it was at one point able to spawn counterfeit life of its own. I'm not sure I have the mental capacity to do that tonight, but that is indeed something that we should do soon. So let's head over to Anor Londo. So in the Northern Undead Asylum, back in our original cell, we picked up the peculiar doll. A strange doll in strange dress. There was once an abomination who had no place in this world. She clutched this doll tightly and eventually was drawn into a cold and lonely painted world. So I sort of scoffed while reading that first line in the description. A strange doll in strange dress, because I was thinking that it should say in a strange dress, but I suppose a strange doll in strange dress is also grammatically correct. And that it's not referring to a dress, but in strange attire. Might be a less ambiguous way of putting that. And I'm not really sure if there's any way for us to... Like, there's really no other clues that are offered here that might lead us to believe that, okay, we should go looking in Anor Londo. A cold and lonely painted world. I guess if only really by seeing the painting into which we're supposed to teleport or warp, that it really becomes obvious where we're supposed to go. Strange dress can work, too, referring to an attire unfamiliar to the viewer. Yeah, precisely. Further emphasizing the otherness of Priscilla. Why would the doll be in the asylum, though? That is a good question. And why in our original cell? And why wasn't it there previously? Unless it's an invitation to us. But it wouldn't be Priscilla issuing the invitation, I don't think. Oh, sweet D. I don't know why I was going that way. It wouldn't, I don't think, because she doesn't want us there. Got all the painted guardians to protect the painting, so maybe they knew, maybe not many knew about the other world. So the painting is a place where lost or forsaken folk go. It's not so much lost or forsaken. That is, I think, what it became in Dark Souls 3, but it's also the place where the gods hid away all the things that they didn't want people to see. They didn't want people to find. In actual fact, it was the test area for the game. And a concept for the jump from Demon Souls to Dark Souls. And the original boss of the area was, I believe, Gravelord Nido. So you could argue that they just included it as an extra area. But when you look at it like that, and that it's just sort of an appendage to the game. But when you look at, like, really the entire thing is made up. So I don't think it really matters that an area started as X, Y, or Z. It's what it becomes that really matters, I think. Are you suggesting that Oscar was merely using your cell as a dumping ground for random objects? That is... I don't know if he was using it for a dumping ground for random objects, but if he was throwing things from up there into the cell and doing so in a manner that, you know, that's just sort of the way he forages, I guess that would make sense. But didn't he die? Like, he died, but then he was there again. I don't know. Maybe I'm just confused today in particular, because it's been a couple weeks since I've played. So these are throwing knives, which is why we can't pick them up, because we already have plenty of them. And by plenty, I mean 99, which is the max. Whoa! How did the body, like... I've never seen... Okay, maybe I have, but that was just a particularly... almost like a pirouette. The way he was just sort of flying in the air. So here we have Great Magic Weapon, and we knocked that down way, way earlier when we were going to Anor Londo, but we've not picked it up. Sorcery which improves upon magic weapon. High magic augmentation, right weapon. At Vinheim Dragon School, only magic swordsmen on special orders are allowed to learn this spell, which grants powerful augmentation to various weapons. Not especially adept at that. So here we have the Black Iron set, as well as the Black Iron Great Shield and a Great Sword. Armor of Black Iron Tarkus, a knight known for his great strength. Built of a special black iron and providing strong defense, notably against fire, but so terribly heavy to be unwieldy to all but Tarkus himself. Black Iron Great Shield of the mighty knight Tarkus. Built of special black iron and even heavier than Knight Berenike's Tower Shield, especially resistant to fire attacks and effective for shield bashing. So the implication here would seem to be that Tarkus, who, depending on the Chosen Undead's individual path in the game, will have helped us defeat the Iron Golem, and then attempted to traverse the rafters of this cathedral here, and then fell to his death. That is the suggestion that some have taken from his placement here. But then you would have to argue not only that he fell from the rafters and died, but that his corpse was dragged into the corner by a painting guardian. But there's really no evidence to suggest that, like, why would they do that? What is the point? So, it seems more likely to me, and especially based on the fact that there is a Berenike Knight in the Painted World, that Tarkus was going to rescue this Berenike Knight, but ran into all the Painting Guardians and got cornered and died there. Hot Pocket Remix says there's a cut invasion by Tarkus in Lost Izalith. I wonder what they had planned for his questline, if anything. Oh gosh, yeah, that would have been horrifying. It's not impossible for him to have made it through the rafters. It's unlikely, sure, but like, fat rolling doesn't really have an appreciable difference on your ability to get through the rafters. But it does suggest that he has a different skill set than that which you might need to traverse the rafters successfully. When I went through the Painted World, I was maybe expecting a bit more info on Velka and Priscilla, or I may have missed some items. Alright, so again, there's really no clue as to how we're supposed to get into the Painted World, other than the fact that it says it's a cold and lonely painted world. So you look at this and you might think, oh yeah, that looks like a cold and lonely painted world. Why don't I touch it and see what happens? Always a great idea. Yep. One of the coolest moments in Dark Souls, I think. And then, of course, as soon as we light and sit at this bonfire, we are trapped. We lose our ability to leave the area. This bonfire is cut off from the others, cannot warp. As Sweet D's light goes ballistic. The bare feet on the snow sound effect. It is quite nice. So yeah, we are in the painted world. And the trees are still very much in 2 dimensions. Not an especially pleasant place, this area. Not pleasant in the slightest. We have, of course, crows all over the area here. And a bunch of bodies on spikes. And just not an especially pleasant place in the overall, I don't think. We are going to want to have its inhabitants kind, indeed. Hello, Sylvie. This land is peaceful. It is kind of absurd when you think about it, the fact that she says that. And yet I still fall for her pitch pretty much every time. I don't often fight Priscilla. And I don't know if that's going to be changing in this playthrough. This is a humanity, I think, yeah. I suppose it was peaceful until we showed up. Ariamis was once a spa with natural hot springs. Behold the effects of climate change, indeed. Ooh, you guys are strong. We equip blooming purples because the bloathead enemies, they inflict you with toxic if you're too close to them when killing them. Why are we using melee when we just do this? Rip. And in keeping with the crow theme, and you can, of course, from these crows, farm souvenirs of reprisal, which I spent far too much time doing, more time than I care to admit, in grinding for Darkening Blade with several different builds. I'm inclined to think that bonfire warping is almost entirely a game mechanic without much lore behind it. The bonfire in the abyss lets you warp even if you don't have the Lord Vessel, because otherwise you'd be stuck there, and Kath doesn't do it because it works regardless of if he's there. Yeah, it is an excellent point. Oh, the bloatheads won't poison you if you kill them with fire. Wow, okay, that I did not know. Thank you for explaining that. So now I know it's pointless for us to have on. That is tremendous. Grinded 180 hours for Proof of Concord. By the end of it, I was done with Dark Souls 3. Yeah, I also did it in Dark Souls 3. That shows how silly I am. You can also farm the... Oh, hello. So I guess because the Black Flame is part physical damage, that's why I was still almost inflicted with Toxic there. Suppose we'll find out. Ah! Okay, yeah, that I did not know. I wish there were Radiant offline invasions you could farm for Covenant items instead of farming random enemies. Might make it more fun. That is actually a tremendous idea. I hated the idea of Radiant quests initially when I came across them in Skyrim. I remember not understanding that they were just randomly generated quests and thinking, wow, this is some pretty lazy game design. But I do like the idea of being able to just invade random NPC players. Like, that is something I would definitely do. Just for fun, just to try it out and see what it was all about. But no, that's a tremendous idea, especially in... Because, you know, like, I have an entire playthrough talking about this in the context of Demon Souls. The issues with games as service games versus static games. And the fact that in Demon Souls, things like the Old Monk's Head Wrap, notwithstanding, yes, I am aware that there are some tremendous people out there who have put together servers and are hosting servers for Demon Souls, and I think that's amazing, but in terms of the average player, will never be able to earn the head wrap in Demon Souls anymore because there exists no offline alternative. There's no planning done into the eventuality of when the servers are shut down. Heck, there would even be decent lore and jokes easily incorporated into Radiant Invasion. Yeah, absolutely, Hunter M. They could reference community memes and stuff too. Like, that would be tremendous. And it's just a soul item. I knew that, but I had to be sure. Speaking of invasions, there's a cut invasion here involving Shiva, where he kills you to steal the Chaos Blade. You can hack in the black eye orb that he would have left and activate the invasion, although it doesn't quite work correctly because they remove the dialogue and the AI scripts for it. True, maybe they'll get upset you keep invading them, so next time you invade them they'd have Sunbros with them as backups, or they'd try to haul... Yeah, that's really cool, actually. So Radiant Sam Samuel would... A better way of describing that would be procedurally generated. In that you can have just a bunch of variables that the game randomizes when you use a red eye orb trying to invade offline. So that would be a way of allowing them to get around the issues that arise from locking certain items behind Covenant rewards that you can only earn by invading players and whatnot. So, yeah, I like that idea a lot. That is a much better explanation. No forks given. Thank you. So here we have the Painting Guardians set. Hood worn by the alabaster-clothed Guardians of the Paintings in Anor Londo offers substantial protection versus magic. They have guarded the great paintings of Ariamis for ages, passing their duty down through the generations, but the reason for doing so passed from all memory long ago. For ages, they've guarded the paintings. The great paintings of Ariamis. The pajama set, indeed. Unfortunately, Dark Souls 1 engine isn't really set up for random offline invasions, but in theory it could be done with a lot of work. I might keep that in mind. That would be very interesting. So there we have one of the dragon butts. Although I suppose that's one of the heads, and they leave behind the butt. It's not itself a dragon butt. As well as the Phalanx. But we are just going to keep on going by here to unlock the shortcut for the bonfire. I was hesitant to reverse our hollowing and kindle the bonfire because we're almost certainly to be invaded now, but we might as well roll with it. So there's not really much information offered on these guys, the Phalanx. Like, on the one hand, it's obviously a reference to Demon Souls and the Phalanx boss fight in Demon Souls. But they're hollows. And they can be a pain in the rear if you don't deal with them immediately. My nephew calls her Sweet Pea, and I don't have the heart to correct him when it's Sweet D. Well, your nephew can call Sweet D whatever he wants. Phalanx is an actual thing word, yes. Referring to the formation that they're using. I guess if it's the Painted World is home to abominations, these enemies certainly fit the bill. Yeah, indeed. And again, I guess the fact that this area, and they're protecting Velka, I guess? So it's very obviously a reference to the Phalanx boss from Demon Souls, given the fact that this is a test area that FromSoft was using. Oh, what? Okay, I guess we were being invaded and then not. So this was a test area that the developers were using to, you know, test the transition from Demon Souls to Dark Souls. Presumably as a proof of concept that they were giving to Namco or something like that. Yeah, and the big boxes are cells. You don't really see it here, but you do over here. Where we have these boxes here that actually have doors on them. There's Jeremiah. This one here. So presumably, yeah, it was being used to transport prisoners, but did they really need this much concrete? Because that is a lot of concrete to just transport random hollows. Oh, Mage Tastic has invaded. That's not Xanthous King Jeremiah. We also have Soul of a Proud Knight and Soul of a Proud Knight. Oh, okay. Thanks, friend, I guess. That's more convenient than not. Is this another human player? Oh. Where exactly do you have to go to trigger Jeremiah's invasion, I wonder? And I guess he can't invade together with a player, which is sort of a shame. Weird. Go over by the tree. Oh, touche, yeah. It's curious that the dried finger would be even attached to NPC invasions in that way. Alright, let's save quit. I'm pretty sure save quitting works for resetting the invasion timer. Maybe Jeremiah just doesn't have any beef with us. So no, you guys are alright. Let's go on through. Oh, there we go. Unless that's another player again. There he is. What a troll he is. Notched Whip. Whip with sharp spikes, only slightly effective against armor and tough scales, but quite formidable against enemies with exposed skin, also causes heavy bleeding. So, off to hell, I suppose. Skeletons. Can't remember if there's any items of note down here, but Trashman was born in this well. That actually wouldn't surprise me. That seems consistent with the character. Okay, fair enough. Correction, I've never been good at whips in any of the Souls games. The Annex key. Well, I knew that was down here, of course, but I meant other than this weapon. Other than this key. Key to the Annex in the Painted World of Ariamis. In the wintry Painted World, there is a structure resembling an old cathedral. Its annex serves as a type of storehouse. Other than that key, I don't know that there's anything down here. And the shortcut switch, of course. Thank you, Baldur Shield. Saved our life there. But we have to open the shortcut first. I'm getting all sorts of turned around here. Its inhabitants kind, indeed. Yeah. Okay, we need to go get our souls first. The Bonewheel death animations. It's just like with everything in this game. Everything in this game I feel has been jacked up to 12. Like, including aggro ranges and things like that, because there's so much weird behavior that otherwise I think would be unaccounted for. Okay, that's where we came in. No. No! Oh, Bonewheels. You know, the Bonewheels in Dark Souls 1, or rather the Bonewheels in Dark Souls 2 and 3, lull you into such a false sense of security when you go back and play Dark Souls 1 again. Because, oh my gosh, the Bonewheels in this game are ridiculous. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Oh, crud. We're not doing enough damage. Because we don't have the humanity. They've really... This area feels scarier. Perhaps it's just because I'm bad at the game now. And I wasn't before. I love... Oh! No! I wanted to use the binoculars to look at that first bone wheel, because when you go through, the bone wheel is just like there's light shining from above and it looks so just calm and like heroic. And I pressed pause just long enough for that bone wheel to come at me, and in trying to press L1, all I did was move to the next spot on the menu. And yeah, the bone wheel says no to screenshots, no to lore playthroughs or anything of this sort. Fun fact, enemies have slight radius, hearing radius, and smell radius that bosses use to detect players. That's really interesting. Oh man, I assume the Hot Pocket remix that you've done work on like the PC version of the game? And testing and whatnot? You seem to have a lot of very interesting knowledge. I appreciate you bringing it to the stream. In spite of the truly atrocious... that is really, really interesting stuff. The truly atrocious play that is happening. Thank you, Tolrag, for this subscription. I appreciate that, friend. Tolrag is the person who asked me if I could enable subscriptions so that they could use their Twitch Prime to subscribe. So, thank you, Tolrag. I really appreciate it, friend. Screw you. Stupid! Stupid bone wheels. I hate you so much. Because now we still have to find... the spot with the non-aggressive bloathead. Or would it be... because we find an egg vermifuge, and that's perhaps the item I missed. Either that or we just didn't read the description for it. Because you do find an egg vermifuge. In one of the huts here. See, this is the... this is the scene right here that I wanted to zoom in on. Egg vermifuge isn't an egg, it's an anti-egg, essentially. Touché. So yeah, this is the... going through that illusory wall and then seeing this site is what killed me there. Because I was taken by its beauty. And the fact that it's a person... a skeleton affixed to a wheel that killed me is all the more sad. Silly skeleton. But it was this one that did the damage. Thank you, Green Fairy, for your subscription, friend. I really appreciate that. You guys don't have to do that, but if you do, just know that I really appreciate it. And the emote is the fun with definitions, because I didn't know what else to make it. It's just my face from the fun with definitions illustration done by Nicole Neolucky Dubois. So, shout out to her for making that illustration, which is tremendous. Vermifuge means anti-parasite, essentially. Interesting. So, okay, so anti-egg. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's something you take to deal with an egg parasite. Silly hollows. All that for a soul of a proud knight, eh? And I suppose the ability to cut down that humanity if you hadn't already done so. Vermifuge in French, it's what you give to animals like cats to prevent them from being infected by worms and parasites. Especially when they are young and vulnerable to such things. Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that that was the thing. Screw you, stupid Bonewheel. No. Screw you and your spinny skeleton and your spinny wheels and... Oh my gosh. It was stressful, Green Fairy. It was very stressful because, you know, I spent all that time doing it and thinking that I was going to screw it up. And there were a couple of parts where I did screw up, in fact. And, you know, I wasn't able to figure out where to reinsert all the screws that I took out. But essentially, yeah, I cleaned out whole, and for those who saw on Twitter, that was basically outside of my building. There's a bench there. I set up a little station so that I could de-dust my PS4 and do it in a way that meant I wasn't inhaling the dust for the rest of my life in this apartment. So so I set up outside and I did all that, and then yeah, put on the new thermal paste, and you cannot hear my PS4 anymore, which is, oh, it had become such a pain in the rear during editing. So yeah, here we have. So I've been calling these things bloatheads, but I think bloatheads are the names of the enemies in the Ulasil Township and Ulasil Township Dungeon / Chasm of the Abyss. We have this. Is it Egg-Bearing Hollow? Because I don't know that this is an Egg-Bearing Hollow, because I think those refer specifically to the ones right near Quelaag's domain and in Quelaag's domain. Yeah, that sounds about right though, Engorged Hollows. And you can see that it seems to have its head in its hands. So it's weeping or something. Sorry, friend. And it has Fire Surge. Pyromancy 4 into the Great Swamp creates a surge of flame from palm of hand. Not all pyromancy originates in the Great Swamp. One hears rumors of unknown pyromancers inhabiting various lands, and this spell is the work of one such outlander. And before we were invaded by Jeremiah, we picked up Acid Surge. Pyromancy 4 into the Great Swamp. Emit acid which corrodes weapons and armor. Not all pyromancy originates in the Great Swamp. One hears rumors of basically the exact same description. So that is some very interesting stuff, I think. It's funny that the Phalanx breaks formation almost immediately, as soon as it sees you, pretty much. They are no longer a Phalanx. And this appears to be... like, they appear to have this set up for a service here, with all the benches and everything. And so presumably in this place they serve or worship Velka in the same way that they appear to in Dark Souls 3 in the painted world of Ariandel. Look at the little brisk walk he's doing. Just going for a jog. Oh my gosh, who are you? It looks so, like, cheerful. And so here we have the Occult Ember, or Dark Ember, rather. Oh, crows. That's some fancy moves there, ladies. Some very fancy moves. Dark Ember. Ember required for weapon ascension. The church long hid the forbidden black ember, and no living blacksmith knows of it. Occult weapons were used to hunt the gods, and are effective against their followers and kin. So it's very interesting that dark came to mean something very different in subsequent games, or did it? The harpies destroyed me when I went there. The harpies, so they come out of nowhere too. They are quite formidable. That's for sure. And then we have the black set. Black cleric robe. Robe worn by pardoners serving Velka, the goddess of sin. The pardoner's attire is uniformly black in color and said to be imbued with Velka's mystical power, which provides resistance against all manner of magic. Mask of Velka. Mask worn by pardoners serving Velka, the goddess of sin. The pardoners listen to the confessions of sinners, urging reflection and salvation. Their masks symbolize separation from worldly desires. And the Phalanx are straight up called Phalanx Hollows internally. Interesting. Who's shooting at us? And I wonder if you can foil his trap from here. Yep. Oh. That I did not know. Why the Christian theme of confessing and celibacy? Don't the gods have their own religion? I think that would be a question for JSF. But any of you are, of course, welcome to proffer an answer. Yeah, separation from worldly desires. I don't think that necessarily... That might be used as the justification for it in Catholicism, but I don't think that's necessarily what it's getting after. No, stop it. Does celibacy mean no more shopping sprees? It could. This is bad. Forgot. I really shouldn't have forgot that all these enemies respawned, but I certainly wasn't ready for them. No matter the cause. Okay, we still have to go up to the top of this tower here. And I'm going the wrong way for us to do that. We're certainly not in a tremendous position. We should just go back to the bonfire. So confused. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? I'll go. I'll go. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Sorry, friend. These women are not easy to deal with. And good thing they can fly indeed. No one said they were the most graceful of birds. I'm going to assume that this bird is supposed to be triggered for somewhere else. But it's cool to be able to get such an up-close look at them. And we can also get a look at the surrounding landscape, which, understandably, is barren. Maybe not so much barren as it's just nothing there. That bird? Yeah, I figured as much. But it's just weird, because usually, at least for me when you're at this point, you're often done going through the area, this is the last thing you have to do. And so, provided you didn't die or sit at the bonfire or something, I often don't come up here and see this one. Oh, okay. Alright, she earned her right to live. She earned her right to live. Let's just leave her alone. If something doesn't die when you throw a great fireball at it, and doesn't even lose a speck of health, odds are you should probably just be leaving it alone. I love how the dragon's wing falls off as you approach. Nope. And this dragon evidently had far too much to drink last night. And we're about to trigger its claw attack. Or its secondary puke attack, I suppose. And there's the primary one again. If you hit the undead dragon with a lightning attack, it'll play the wrong sound. That's weird. So it drops a dragon scale. I don't know if we've read the description for that yet. Dragon scale for reinforcing dragon weapons, peeled from an ancient dragon. A dragon is inseparable from its scales, and the transcendent apostles, who seek the perpetuity of the ancient dragons, have crossed the very end of the earth to seek this invaluable treasure. We will be going there in a couple of episodes' time. To the end of the world, Ash Lake. I'm trying to find a weapon with which we can do a jumping attack. There we go. Because if you don't want to deal with the bone wheels, you could always just do this. After you've killed the dragon, at least. No, not that. That. So, I'm going to assume that's a glitch. Hot Pocket, can you speak to whether or not you think this is something that was intended? Because it's so gosh darn goofy. And seemingly out of place. Like, it's just, you just do a jumping attack on the dragon button and it just pops right up. Okay, well in that case I'm glad they didn't patch it, because it's tremendous, it really is. And yeah, this has been in the game for as long as I've been playing it. It really is wonderful. Again, it's curious. Like, I'd like to know what the thought process was, or indeed whether there was any thought process at all in terms of like, which glitches do we address and which ones do we just leave alone. I'd love to know what sort of how they approach that problem. Because if it's anything like Metal Wolf Chaos Remaster, then it's a small group from FromSoft passing over notes to the remastering company. Yeah, that's more or less how I imagined it going down, Theomany. Since I made the item randomizer, I need to know where every item in the game is. So, wow, that is... I didn't realize we were in the presence of such royalty. Because that item randomizer has been in like so many playthroughs and has been almost like the point of many, many playthroughs. Can't believe we missed that. Because I knew we were missing that item. I love the cheerful jog of that one. Of that one Engorged Hollow. It's tremendous. I do quite enjoy your cheerful jog, sir. And I've always found it really interesting that like obviously it's just a reskin, but that the rats here are albino. Okay. Velka's Rapier. Velka's Rapier, a symbolic, powerful thrusting sword used by the pardoner serving Velka, goddess of sin. It is no mere symbol, to be sure. The pardoner is an inhuman swordsman and wields this enchanted blade with special sword technique. What a freaking troll. I suppose I can't blame him. He's just doing the job of a hollow, but... I really need to pay more attention to how many spells we have left. So we have a gold coin here, which I believe is a reference to Allfather Lloyd, yeah. Coin made of gold, with Allfather Lloyd and his white halo shown on its face. Even coins of great value in the world of men have little value in Lordran, where the accepted currency is souls. Those who dream of returning to the outside world are fond of carrying these around. Oh. Okay, let's get the heck out of this place. I don't want to be here any longer. I'm done. And the worst part is that the painted world of Ariandel in Dark Souls 3 is so much worse. It's so much worse in this place. And we're going to have to do like 6 hours of episodes for Let's Talk Lore. At least, maybe 8 hours for that area. Here is the egg vermifuge. Egg vermifuge, bitter, sour chestnut, removes parasitic egg from body. The egg bearers have chosen to serve the flame of chaos, and the eggs symbolize this selfless choice. Naturally, these chestnuts are forbidden, but are allowed under special circumstances. So yeah, that's the painted world pretty much. And of course, if you do the dragon butt trick, you can skip most of this. But what would be the fun in that? And as was suggested earlier, here's the Brenniki Knight that Tarkus might be after. Ouch. Hits very hard, too. And by after, I mean maybe Tarkus came here to rescue the Brenniki Knight. And I'm almost certainly butchering that pronunciation, so I apologize for that as well. Oh, way too early. But I don't believe that's a single spawn. To the left of the stairs, just past the Phalanx. You are tremendously knowledgeable about the game Hot Pocket Remix. Thank you for being here during the stream. I really do appreciate it, and lending your wisdom to us here. The thing about that Brenniki Knight, and a point against the suggestion that Brenniki Knight might be the reason why Tarkus didn't fall from the rafters, but instead was overwhelmed by the Painting Guardians. And that is that it's, I believe, an infinite spawn. Unless Tarkus was coming to see what happened to an entire detachment of Brenniki Knights, then it doesn't make sense. It isn't a multiple spawn. I didn't think that was a unique enemy. Yeah, the Brenniki Knight here respawns, because I seem to recall farming them for large Titanite shards. I don't know why, because I don't think that's a great spot, but I think it's a high drop rate, if not 100% drop rate for large Titanite shards. So that would be a point against the suggestion that that's what Tarkus is there for. But otherwise, I'm not really sure how to make sense of Tarkus' thing if he didn't just fall from the rafters. But again, I think that isn't exactly satisfying either, because how did Tarkus get in the corner? Unless the Painting Guardians dragged him there, but why would they do that?
Who art thou? One of us thou art not. If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou seekest I, thine desires shall be requited not. Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful.
Yeah, so as we noted, that's not entirely accurate. Some things to note about Priscilla is that she is a hybrid dragon-human lady. She has a tail, seemingly that of a dragon, and the Life Hunt Scythe, which we might learn more about if we were killing Priscilla, but we're not. Because I'm a suck, as is Sweet D. And yeah, she is a very interesting character. She is someone we will certainly talk about in much, much greater detail when we do the Painted World of Ariandel in Dark Souls 3 Less Soft Lore. Which will be in a few months, but still, we're getting there. Okay, let's see. Xanthous Crown, a mysterious item once worn by the Xanthous King Jeremiah, the legendary exile. No one knows where it came from. The crown bears high-quality cloth, which is quite soft to the touch, but its bright yellow color stings the eyes, and it is clearly far too big. And the overcoat just says that its bright yellow color stings the eyes, even though it's tattered. Crossbreed Bastard, that's harsh, also implies that she has no father. Thank you, Hot Pocket Remix. Soul of Priscilla the Crossbreed, trapped inside the painted world of Ariamis. Special beings have special souls. Use the soul of this crossbreed bastard child, an antithesis to all life, to acquire a huge amount of souls, or to create a unique weapon. That is, yeah. Well, bastard, in the context of Dark Souls 3 at least, just meant unwanted. A Toshigo, I think it was, but it's been like 6 months since we've had that discussion. I would recommend that people see JSF's video on the Bastard's Curse, as well as his appearance for the Cathedral of the Deep in Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore. So for Priscilla's dagger, this sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, came from the tale of Priscilla, the dragon crossbreed, in the painted world of Ariamis. Possessing the power of Life Hunt, it dances about when wielded in a fashion reminiscent of the white-robed painting guardians. For the Life Hunt scythe born from the soul of Priscilla, the stark, white crossbreed trapped inside the painted world of Ariamis. Even the gods feared Priscilla's Life Hunt ability, and in the hands of a mortal, its power will turn upon its wielder. So yeah, it inflicts bleed damage on oneself, but its ability to inflict bleed is so high that if you just use for instance, the ring whose description we did not read, which I did pick up, I thought. Oh no, it's a shield, not a ring. What am I doing? Blood shield. The blood shield spoken of in the Lost Legends. The red shield is slightly enchanted and boosts various resistances. So that really helps with the bleed buildup from the Life Hunt scythe. But anyway, bleed auxiliary damage has a lot to do with the power of Life Hunt. Indeed. And Theomany also says, the Xanthous crown looks like what Solus's head looked like in the epilogue of the FromSoft's 2000 game Eternal Ring. Solus's. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh man. But yeah, I think that's more or less going to do it. So let's go back to Anor Londo, and then we will call it a night there. The Bloodbite ring is sold by Oswald, so you may not have purchased it yet. Yeah, no, I was thinking of the Bloodbite ring, but I was thinking that we picked it up here, forgetting that it was just the blood shield. Alright everyone, well that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all very, very much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.